For as long as humans have been able to look up, we have stared at the night sky with a mix of hope and deep fear. We counted the billions of stars in our galaxy and did the math. The numbers seemed impossible to ignore. With so many suns and so many planets, surely we could not be the only ones. It felt arrogant to think we were special, yet lonely to think we were alone. This puzzle, this great mystery of why we haven't met anyone else, kept scientists awake at night. They built giant dishes to listen to the static of space, hoping for a song, a greeting, or even a warning. Most people believed that if aliens existed, they were either far away, hiding, or just hadn't noticed us yet. We imagined a universe full of neighbors, maybe some friendly, some dangerous, but definitely there. Then, everything changed on a quiet Tuesday morning at a remote research station buried deep in the mountains. The lead researcher, a man who had spent his entire life listening to the cosmos, was running a new test. He wasn't looking for voices. He was looking for patterns in the background noise of the universe, the kind of hiss that everyone thought was just natural radiation. His computer program, designed to find things that didn't belong, suddenly stopped. It didn't crash. It just froze, highlighting a tiny section of data that looked ordinary but wasn't. It was a signal so faint that it had been ignored for decades, hidden inside what everyone thought was empty space. But when they peeled back the layers, it wasn't random noise. It was a list. As the team worked to decode the message, the atmosphere in the room shifted from excitement to a heavy, suffocating dread. They expected to find coordinates of other worlds or perhaps a map of galactic trade routes. Instead, they found a status report. The signal acted like a census log, a record kept by something ancient and vast that watched over the entire galaxy. The list contained millions of star systems, every single one capable of supporting life. Next to each name was a status update. Some said extinct, some said developing, but the most common label, appearing next to nearly every active civilization, including Earth, was one word: quarantined. The realization hit them slowly, then all at once. Humanity was not alone because the universe was empty. We were alone because we were being kept apart. The truth was far more shocking than any science fiction story ever told. Intelligent life was actually very common. Civilizations rose and fell across the galaxy all the time. But there was a rule, a strict law enforced by an unseen guardian race that had existed long before humans ever walked upright. The rule was simple. Any species that discovered how to split the atom and create nuclear weapons had to prove they could control their own anger before they were allowed to join the rest of the galaxy. If a civilization managed to invent powerful technology without first learning to live together in peace, they were immediately isolated. Their radio signals were blocked from going out, and outside signals were blocked from coming in. It was a cosmic timeout. Earth hadn't been ignored by aliens. We had been put in a corner. The reason we never heard a reply to our messages, the reason our telescopes saw no cities on other planets, was because a massive, invisible wall had been placed around us. We were in a nursery, separated from the grown-ups until we could show that we wouldn't hurt anyone. The data showed a terrifying pattern. Thousands of other worlds had reached the same stage as us. They had invented electricity, flight, and eventually bombs. Most of them failed the test. Within a few hundred years of discovering nuclear power, they destroyed themselves. Their status on the list changed from quarantined to extinct. The galaxy was a graveyard of civilizations that couldn't get along. The few that survived were the ones that learned to unite before they blew themselves up. Only then was the quarantine lifted. When and only then were they allowed to communicate with the wider universe. For the researchers in that mountain room, the silence of the universe suddenly made perfect sense. It wasn't an empty silence. It was a holding breath. The entire galaxy was waiting. They were watching Earth, waiting to see if we would grow up or if we would join the long list of failed experiments. Every war, every conflict, every act of violence on our planet was being monitored. We weren't the pioneers of the stars. We were the dangerous children who had just found a loaded gun in the playroom. The adults of the galaxy had locked the door and were watching through the window, hoping we wouldn't pull the trigger. This revelation changed everything. It meant that our future wasn't written in the stars, but in our own hands. There were no invaders coming to save us or destroy us. There was only a test, and we were failing it miserably. The loneliness we felt for centuries was actually a safety measure, designed to protect the rest of the galaxy from us until we proved we were safe. As the sun set outside the research station, casting long shadows over the mountains, the team realized the weight of their discovery. The universe was crowded, vibrant, and alive, but we were trapped in our own little bubble, entirely responsible for popping it. The shocking truth wasn't that we were insignificant. It was that we were too dangerous to be let out. And for the first time in history, humanity knew exactly why the sky was so quiet.